Welcome to Dad, brought to you by the National Parents Union. It's one time a week where dads get together and we talk about some of the issues that go on with being a parent from a father's perspective. I'm Tim Langen from the National Parents Union, and let me go around here and introduce my co-hosts.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Jose Manuel Villarreal from San Diego.
Michael Scott, Director of School Improvement, Canton City Schools in Ohio, father of Grayson and Addison, who are locked away today. They're not coming out.
Hello, everybody. I'm John Monteleone, Superintendent, Cleveland, Ohio, and father of Rochelle and Antonio.
Well, thanks for jumping on again, guys. I know you've all had a busy week. What are some of the things you guys are working on? You know, because we're not just doing this show here. You know, we're not bringing in the riches, doing dad to dad once a week. You know, we're doing stuff. We're trying to help kids. We're trying to help families. What have you guys been up to this week?
Well, I will tell you, behind me are some new drawings. And shout out to George Ramirez,
Nice.
Tim Langen for inspiring me. So on Saturday, I opened all the windows, heard the birds chirping, didn't have anything on. It was really cool. Burned some incense in the house. And I said, you know, I'm going to kick it old school. And I did this.
Nice. Oh, wow, man.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
You got artsy crafty.
Look
Come
at
on.
That
Here
is
we go.
the bubble of
That's
love.
like old school graffiti.
That's right. Let's go. Let's get this book going, gentlemen. Let's go.
That's right.
Man, I'm inspired.
Let's get the book rolling. Let's keep this momentum going, man.
I went the whole week thinking about that, man. Letting some people into my bubble of love, and you gotta ease some people out.
Listen, I even looked it up on Amazon. I don't see it yet. We got to claim it.
Grab it.
We got to claim it, man. We got to get it going. So this is just an inspiration. I did about 10 pieces. I just went on YouTube, how to draw art or cartoons or whatever. I got a bunch of other ones in the back that I've done. I'll show you guys next week. But yeah, man, there it is. Bubble letters, a bubble of love. And John, I'm getting close on your request. I'm getting close.
Man.
I'm getting close, man. I ain't gonna lie. I'm getting close. But that was my week. It was great. I'll share the other story later.
That's great, man. How about you, Michael?
So I had a promise to ask engage my wife in the conversation about what does it mean when I say I love you, right? And so I did, and we had some good dialogue. But God works in mysterious ways, and I'm a man that walks by faith. So I was cleaning up my basement, and this is the email my wife sent me February 7th, 2006. And it says 5 things I like about our relationship and 5 things we can work on in our relationship. So I just wanted to share those 5 things that we can work on. She says, I ask questions. I'm curious. It upsets me when I ask you a question and you don't answer and tell me it's none of your business. But that was a long time ago. I'm not the same man. Promptness. She said one of her worst qualities is that I'm always late. It's horrible. So she's going to work on some of those things. Third thing, at times it seems you're very irritable. Sometimes you bring home work and it makes you irritable, and et cetera, et cetera. 4, I would like us to work on trying new things. And then 5, try to make the best out of every situation. And, you know, it was a reflective tool because I think some of those things I've actually gotten better at, and so has she. But, you know, it was just God's reminder to say, you know, pay attention. If you don't pay attention to the past, it's doomed to repeat itself, right? So I know my history and know where I don't want to be again. So we worked on some things like that this week. So it was a good week in regards to the personal side of things.
That's awesome, man. I know I've had some of those things come up in my own relationships too, specifically around bringing work home. It's tough, especially now. I'm at work all the time.
All around you, right? You can't, you know, but we gotta draw boundaries though too, right? We gotta respect our home as just that, even in this remote experience. So.
Good stuff, man. John, how about you?
Yeah, so pre-COVID, my daughter and I, Antonia, we had made a promise that we were going to run in the Cleveland half marathon. Of course, that's been canceled, but we've stayed committed and we're still training to run a half marathon at the end of this month. And this Saturday, we ran 11K, which is approximately 7 miles. So what I'm doing now is I want to surprise her. So I'm looking online to see if like I can find like a custom medal. And I want to make something that just says like daughter, dad, half marathon, and put the date, you know, that we're going to run it on. So if you know of any websites that make custom medals for races, send them my way. I would love it. But yeah, I want to surprise her with that. But outside of that, man, we're doing pretty good. Last Saturday was a good feeling, but I had an inkling that last quarter mile, she was kind of slowing down to let me stay pace with her. So, you know, 43 years old and 18-year-old. So I'll take it for what it is.
Nice, man. For myself, my goal, I wanted to live up to the level of love that Michael Scott shows to people, you know, which is texting everyone in my phone. I think I set the goal too high. I'll be honest with you. I was going to go through every mail in my phone and then and send them a text saying, "Hey, I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it." Didn't quite get there. I sent it to three former employees who happened to. I noticed them on Facebook. They were reaching out, and I think, "Oh man, look at that cutie."
Yes, sir.
Who's that?
Yeah, he's coming. He's coming. They had a post. 50,000 views, man. Check them out.
Oh, man. That's what's up.
Yeah, man.
Well,
You gotta pay the piper, man. This for free.
Oh, that's awesome, man. You know, we had some people on a meeting today. The kid was jumping on, and she was so apologetic. And I said to her, it was actually Mira on the early show today. I said, Mira, come on, we've been doing this for 2 months. The fact it's the first time your son's jumped on camera is pretty impressive. But you know what? I reached out to a few people. I said, you know what? I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. And I don't work with you anymore, so you can't really talk to HR. You know, and we got into this conversation, just checking in. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? You know, the company I used to work for was purchased by a bigger company, so they're going to be shutting that down in a month. And we just talked and had a little text talk, and it was good. It was a good vibe, man. So, Michael, again, I'm always going back to you, man. I'm learning a lot from you during this show, and it was definitely worth it.
That's cool. That's awesome.
You know what that's called, Tim? The bubble of love.
The pop open.
That's what it's called, the bubble of love. Shout out to George Ramirez. Bubble of love. There it is, Michael. Come on, that's chapter 2. That's chapter 2.
Oh man, but Jose, you know, you said did you want to share something with us, man? You've had a busy week, man.
Hey man, so yesterday I'm getting ready to go to another Zoom meeting, and I'm in between meetings, and I think I told you in the very first show I had a really bad dad moment when my son couldn't even hold a shovel, when there was a little rattlesnake. And so quite the most embarrassing moment of my life, me failure as a dad, my embarrassment that I haven't taught him how to use a shovel. Well, he comes to me yesterday, he says there's another snake. So I said, well, let's go at it. So we went to go see it. It's poisonous. We got to take care of it because it'll be around or get one of us. So I said, all right, you hold the camera. I'll do it. And then I was humane with it. I said, well, now you have to bury it. And so his eyes were just a flutter. You know, he was, and I said, all right, let's pause for a minute. You're 12 years old. I said, where's your feeling right now? He said, it's in my chest. I said, what do you feel? He said, I feel nervous. I said, all right, let's walk through this. Your thought that was very proud. That Mexican man who put that snake with his hands and take care of business. But you're just gonna be gentle with it. It's past, it's part of nature. We're gonna bury it to be safe. And then he buried it with the head and everything to be safe, as Michael said. They can still get you. But I felt rejuvenated because I was supposed to not yell at him and say, just grab it, stop, blah, blah. But I actually paused as, you know, I started as a school counselor back in the day, leaned on for a minute, and so then you can identify that pressure you got in your chest. The next time you do this, when your son has to do this, your son, you gotta do this. So it worked out really well. Mm-hmm.
I'm the rookie here today, man. I'm muted. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's really beautiful. You know, I've noticed my oldest son's, you know, he's become a little bit more anxious the last couple of months, you know, as he misses his friends and he misses his school. And, you know, at the same time, I've become a little bit more stressed. I call it the Corona crazies. Once a week, man. Woof. You know, and I'm trying to, we had a nice talk over the weekend. I rubbed his chest a little bit. I was talking to him outside. It was nice. The sun was on us. I said, "How you feeling, man?" And just I said, "I'm feeling anxious too." It's a tough time. I don't know how your family's doing. John, Mike, how are your families doing during this time?
Yeah, I was in the car with Antonia. We were driving to the metro parks where we do most of our running, and she was just kind of sharing some of her anxiety. And it was surreal to me because, as an adult, I think about all the what ifs, like everything, looking at the unemployment numbers and just the day-to-day stresses that I deal with in the COVID world and on the job. But like hearing it from her perspective, like she's making a transition from Kent State to Ohio State this fall. And, she doesn't have her housing secured yet because they haven't opened it up due to the stay-at-home order. She's not sure, like, where she's going to be living. She's not sure if they're going to start online distance learning and it's a new school. So, just hearing her express that out loud it was surreal for me because, you know how it impacts you as an adult and all the adult issues that you deal with. But they're also harboring feelings the same way, and it was nice to that she was expressing it. But it really took me a moment. I was just really listening intensely to like what she was trying to say, so I could, respond in an inspirational and assuring way. But yeah, it's weird when your kids are going through it.
Wow, it's tough. I think it goes because you have an older child.
Yeah.
And this kind of goes to our topic. How old is she again, John? I'm sorry.
She's 18. She'll be 19 next month in June.
18, 19, and you're still that dad, man, right? You still care about her, and that sort of circles back to our topic for today is that no matter how old your kid is, no matter where your kid is, you're still that parent, you still have that, I don't want to call it the parent bug, but there's just that instinctual thing I feel like in your body that, I cut my life in two halves, before I was a parent and after I was a parent, because honestly, either you're a parent or you're not. Either you get it or you don't. And I don't find that condescending or anything like that. But I remember when I was 20 years old, or even like before I had a kid in my early 30s, and being like, what's the big deal? Why can't you go out on a Tuesday night? Even the way I looked at work was different. I'm more disciplined now. There's more to it now because I'm supporting two boys. It's not just me, I'm thinking of a future. Or I'll tell you a perfect example. Like I am more scared of flying now than I was before I had kids, because I'm like, oh, if these two little boys, I got something to live for, man. And I think even of my mom. I joked around in an email the other day. My mom, whenever I see her, she'll be like, hey, are you hungry? I made you some salmon. Why don't you eat something? She's always cooking for me, whether I'm there or not. She's 74 years old, I just wonder what you guys think of that. What do you think of that? Do you experience that with your own parents now, with your own folks?
Yeah,
Michael, how about you, man?
Parenting never stops.
Yep.
Which I say that as a blessing, right? Like it's a blessing for me to still have both of my parents who are actively engaged. On Saturday, my dad is a runner, like not a literal runner like John, but from a work perspective, he grinds. Always has, always is. He's retired, but still works 55 hours, 60 hours a week. But the grandkids have slowed him down, right? So going through this pandemic has been really interesting because he and my mom, Poppy and Grammy, they're actively hands-on grandparents, right? We're fortunate. My wife's parents are the same. But out of respect for the virus, we've kept a distance. I mean, it's been FaceTime or nothing. But Saturday, it was a great day here in Ohio. The temperatures were warm. My parents have a huge backyard. So we tried the social distancing, and I'm fortunate. Like 3 and 2-year-olds, life is just life, but they understand. Like my daughter playfully says, "Oh, can't touch virus, can't touch. Gotta wait till the virus is gone." And it's interesting to watch that, but it's also sad. But it was really to see the nurturing side of my parents wanting to, embrace, wanting to hug, wanting to do all those things, but not being able to. It just sucks right now, for lack of a better term. And we FaceTime every day. The contact has increased so much. Like I talk to my parents regularly, but now it's just like, if I miss a day, I'm getting blown up by my dad, which, like, Dad, I'm working. And I had a meeting all day yesterday till 9 o'clock. I don't care what time to put the kids to bed. 9:30. Well, you could have called me between 9 and 9:30. I'm like, wait a minute. You're the same guy that was on this grind and said, you know what? I kissed you in the head. You were sleeping, and so it's all good. But now, the shift, right? So it never stops. Like, and I know what he's saying. Like, look, I care about you. I want to hear every day to make sure that you guys are okay as well. So that's my little.
How about you, man?
Yeah, listen, I got an 83-year-old mother in my house, and I'm parenting her.
Yeah.
I mean, I said to her the other day, I said, "You take your medicine?" She says, "Yes." I said, "All right, then why is there still some in here?" "Well, I didn't want to take it." I said, "Well, hold up. You just told me." "Well, I don't want to take it. It makes me feel good." I said, but you said you take the medicine. So it's like, it's, you gotta be respectful, man. She's 5'4", but you gotta just, okay, well, take it tomorrow, or can I help you later? But now I'm parenting her in some way and always worried about her and making sure she's okay. So yeah, the parenting for me is now flipped. And I got the little one over here asking me for a favor. I said, "Well, if you can ask me for a favor, I'm gonna put you on camera." That's why he didn't want to be on camera. I said, "Ain't nothing for free around here with me. You got to give me something back." But yeah, the parenting now, I see it now. They call it the sandwich generation, right?
Yeah.
So you're taking care of your kids, plus now your family, your elderly, and we're in the middle. So it's really interesting. I mean, I appreciate it greatly to be able to see her whenever I can. But I'm working too and grinding. Sometimes I don't get a chance to see her as much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so one of the things we want to talk about is, like, it never stops, no matter where you are, no matter how old your kids are. One of the things the National Parents Union does is, before I bring on my next guest here, is we reach out to all kinds of parents. It's not just a nuclear household. I think the days of two parents, one the dad works, the mom stays at home, those are long gone. If they ever really existed, National Parents Union reached out to single parents, foster parents, LGBTQ parents, Black, brown parents, parents who've been in recovery, homeschool parents, it doesn't matter. And one of the populations we reach out to, I had the pleasure in New Orleans of meeting a wonderful woman named Vivette Dukes, who was one of a family where a family member was incarcerated. So we reach out to incarcerated parents because that has an effect on the family. And I met this wonderful man, Sasha, if we can bring him on, this great guy, John Dukes, who's going to join us today to illustrate that no matter what, again, no matter where you are, parenting never stops. That love for your child never, ever stops. And John, thanks for joining us today, man, on Dad to Dad.
You're welcome. It's nice to be here, Tim. Good to be with all you gentlemen.
Yeah, I was just telling the guys here, the dads here, I met your wife in January in New Orleans at the first convening of the National Parents Union.
Yeah.
She was incredible. She told me about you, and I was like, I gotta meet this guy. It's pretty amazing. So if you remind me, why don't you tell us a little about yourself, man? It's great to have you on here.
Yeah, I'm glad that she's not on here to talk about me first, because it's hard to follow her. It's hard to follow her. But thank you again. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here to speak about how you raise your children and things like that. But a little bit about me is, my name is John Dukes. I have a lovely wife by the name of Yvette, as you already mentioned, and we have children together. And I was incarcerated. We have 3 children, collectively, we have a blended family. And all our children are grown now, really. The youngest one is 20, and like I was telling you yesterday, Tim, she's either 20 or 21 because she's always talking about she's grown. So I don't remember if she's 21 or if she's gonna be 20 this month. Yeah, but I know she's in her 20s, so she should be 21. That's the youngest. The other ones are 24 and 26. That's my oldest one from another relationship without Vivette, my oldest daughter. And I'm so proud of her. She's a nurse, and Vivette and our son is into PR, public relations. He just graduated from Howard University, class of 2019. So we're very proud of him. And now our daughter, the youngest one, she's continuing in school now and also working and possibly going to be a teacher, like Vivette is already. Having said that, a little bit about me. I've been incarcerated for close to 2 decades, 19 and a half years. And I came home in 2018. And, speaking of being a parent, it was difficult to be a parent inside all those years and miss all of those great moments and things that I was denied as a child and didn't want to repeat for my children, or any child that I had. And it was difficult. So with that, I want to kind of like see what maybe is a question you want to ask me.
I'm glad you're here, John, because I got to tell you, I'm not gonna lie, I had a little fit today, and I'm realizing now how whiny and spoiled I was. So a lot of teachers now are trying to do remote learning. They're trying to get put the kids on these websites so they can learn at home. And so you need a password for Freckle Math. There's Freckle Math. There's Prodigy. There is Epic. It's kept inside of Schoology, which is also kept inside of Google Classroom. And I was having a little fit because I'm whining because I can't figure out the passwords and all this, and I can't find all these things. You were incarcerated for 20 years. Tell me how because I know you did this, how did you maintain that love as a parent for your kids? Because I'm thinking you had a much difficult time then than I did 3 hours ago when I was being a big baby.
I never try to minimize anybody's experience because you know what, the truth be told, your experience is tough to you because it's your experience, So I understand that. And I do appreciate those like yourself that always refer to me as like, Dag, I know you've been through X, Y, and Z. Like, how was that? So to answer your question, it was difficult, and how I did it was God. I gotta throw my religion out there first, and not even just religion. I gotta throw my belief. Like, if it wasn't for me, giving my life to the Lord, man, like early in my bed, and not leaning onto my own understanding, and really trusting that, there's something higher than me. I need to get with this. My mother, who was a single parent for so long, kept telling me, "Oh, you gotta give your life to the Lord. You gotta go to church," and and I kept running from that, and having family members that were so heavily into to God and to Christ and stuff. So that was really the part that helped me into finding out, what do I need to do? So I start praying a lot. I start, meditating. I start incorporating things that were in me from a long time ago, from not having a father in my life, and was saying, you know what, by any means and by any way, I'm going to stay in contact with my daughter. And because at that time, it was only, my oldest daughter in my life. And I was like, I'm going to stay in contact. She was only 5 years old at the time. Mm-hmm. And I start writing letters to her mother, who wasn't receptive. The relationship was already torn. Like, she wasn't trying to hear anything. So that was another battle within itself. But I was relentless on who I am to my daughter from day one being with her, and being in the delivery room, like being through all that. Just imagine, I was with her from the whole time I found out she was conceived from my daughter's mom until I got incarcerated.
Yeah.
So it was like I call my daughter the hero, the unsung hero, and the MVP of this because it was literally like for 14 months without seeing her. Now imagine you being with your child for all that time, for 5 years of her life, taking her everywhere, even up to learning how to braid her hair. And I'm still not good at it, but I learned how to like twist her hair a little bit. Everything else I did for her. Took her to the park, took her to wherever I went, to the zoo, anywhere. I video recorded, recorded. I did everything with her. Fed her, bathed her, did all those things with her. And not saying her mother didn't do anything, but I did the majority of those things because her mother was in college at the time. I wasn't. I was like in between worlds and, doing things I should not be doing and doing things that I should be doing at the same time, so to speak. And make a long story short, yeah, she didn't allow my daughter to see me for those times. So I went for 14 months without seeing her, and it killed me to the point that that's what really drew my faith in God even more, because I used to do these things what I call pretty prayers now. I used to like, oh Lord, forgive her. She doesn't know what she's doing, or I forgive her, but I really didn't forgive her. I really wasn't. That wasn't my truth. So I learned that in that 14-month wait on trying to see her, I had got a Bible study class going in the facility I was in, all of these things. And I just started praying. But then I did a real prayer that day. And that was the day that unlocked, in my personal experience, my testimony, really unlocked my chances of seeing my daughter, where that immediately real prayer that day, I went on the phone and my daughter was like, oh, Dad, I'm coming to see you. I haven't heard from her. My mother didn't see her. But up until then, to get back a little bit, because I'm getting excited about talking about that. I used to cry a lot when I spoke about that on the other side. It was hard for me to talk about that. But I was writing her. I was writing her letters about, this is what I would have did with you today. What are you doing today? This is what I did today. And I just kept writing and writing until now. I got stacks of letters that my daughter didn't even open up yet because I couldn't mail it to her mother's house because we weren't together.
Right.
So I had to mail them to my mother's house. And I had wrote so many letters for her that now, thank God, she's about to buy a house. And she told me, she said, Dad, when I get my home, then I'm gonna take all those letters and take everything you got for me, and bring it to my house, and then I'll go through those things, because she didn't want to bring them over to her mother's house. But yeah, so that's what I did. I kept in contact as any means necessary, any way I could. And right then and there, at that moment, was just letters, getting it out, pouring into her.
What was that day like, man, after 14 months? Seeing your baby? Oof.
It was incredible, because my daughter's family, my daughter's mother, her family, they had a very strong love for me in their own way. So regardless of that, what happened with her and her father wound up bringing my daughter up there. He wanted to see me. And it was emotional because I wasn't trying to see her father at the time, even though we were supposed to be all right, but everything was really like, I want to see you, and I'm going to make an excuse to see you with your daughter because I don't want to tell my daughter that I want to see you. So I felt a little slighted by that and a little salty by that. So I wasn't really trying to, and plus I wanted to see my daughter. So it wasn't really about him seeing me.
Yeah.
So she had an outfit that I had brought, when you buy certain things, like at that time I used to buy clothes that I like, whether she can fit it or not. I would buy like little extra little size. If it's large, I'm like, oh, she'll fit in it later. It's a nice dress. So I remember buying this dress, the skirt outfit for her, and she wore it up there and she was too big for it then. She wore it up there, man. That killed me just to see her wearing it, because she knew that I had got an artist in the jail that I was in, because I didn't even go to prison yet. I was still going through trial and all of that. I didn't go upstate until like 2 years after I got arrested, and fighting. So I'm down there. I'm like, I'm looking at her. I'm like, where? I know this dress. I brought it, like, and I had somebody draw it for her while she took a school picture in one time. She said, "Dad, I know you. I remember you like this dress. You like how I dress. I dress for you." And I was like, it killed me, man. It
Hey, I'm
killed
gonna ask a dumb question. I already know the answer to it. I'll let some other guys jump in here. 14 months, man. How strong was that love for your baby? Didn't go anywhere, right?
It only grew. It
Yeah,
only
man.
grew.
Oof.
And it still grows, man. I could tear up now. I'm talking about it. I don't want it to tear up too much because I love her very much, man.
That's okay. Honestly, I was talking to John last night. I said, you know what? I think maybe last week was the first show where I didn't tear up at the end. So it's okay, man. It's okay. It's guys, anything you want to jump in with, man? This is great.
Yeah, John, this is John as well. Like, first of
Yeah.
all, the act of you writing those letters is such a beautiful and inspiring thing. I can only imagine how therapeutic it probably was for you. But I got a couple questions, but I want to share with you the story. So,
Yes, sir.
um, my ex-wife and I, we divorced shortly before my youngest daughter turned 16 years old. And you know, when we went through the divorce, you know, of course, luckily, you know, we lived 5 minutes away. I had the weekends, the Tuesdays, didn't miss any major events. But I think I got into this state of depression because, like you said, when you live with somebody every day in and day out for 15 years, it's those little things that you miss, like the everyday acts of like getting them out of bed, making sure they brush their teeth, making sure they're just doing their chores, just sitting across the dinner table. And I went through a period in my life where I felt this self-pity for myself. And it took a friend of mine, a beautiful friend of mine, which we know in here, Marisol, who, you know, we were on a trip together, and she said, John, she said, listen, she said, you're a beautiful person, you're a beautiful man, and you're a beautiful father. And you need to stop living in the past and embrace the opportunities that are ahead of you. So my questions for you is this: is one, did you go through that stage of that self-pity, and how did you overcome that, missing those minute minutes or in events in your kid's life?
That's a great question. I definitely went through that. That goes back to my belief in prayer and leaning on to God. You know, for me, that's what it was. And you know, and I don't mind that when some people, they may not feel that way, like, oh well, that's hocus pocus, or I don't know about that. I'm saying for me, I know what was for me. You know, and I know that it wasn't a rabbit's foot. You know, I know that this was some real things that was happening in my life that I couldn't refute it. You know, and so when those depressed moments were going on in my life where I was feeling down, I was watching guys cursing their women out on the phone. Like literally, I mean, you hear them while we had a Bible study class on the other end table, because it was almost like, wasn't a dorm setting, but this particular jail before I went upstate, they had cells where we locked in at, but it also had a dorm room setting where you can come out your cells and you can have TVs and the tables. So you know, we're reading the Word of God, and we're doing homework now, scriptures, things I wasn't never trying to do in my life, especially homework. I'm not gonna, well, I'm in all of this now. Like, oh, I gotta learn, I gotta do this, gotta change my life, and in doing so, you would hear these gentlemen, you know, and they weren't being gentlemen. I just wanted to be, you know, I want to be clear on that. But you would hear them, and it's like they're going, and I would go on a visit with my mom, longing to see my daughter, and I'll see the same guy down there with his children, playing with them, picking them up in the air. The same woman up there looking a little distraught, maybe, but she's up there, and I would be like, Dag, I'm not trying to be envious, God, but this is ridiculous. Like, how does this guy get even a woman to come up here, and then to let alone to even have a child with her, and then bring his child up here, and he talks crazy on the phone, you know? Even at one point, even one time, a guy was joking to me. He said, "That guy's not talking to nobody on the phone." I said, "He's going to business. I think he is talking." He's like, "Nah, he's talking to the gas station, man. He ain't talking to nobody." You know, and we laughed it off, but no, this gentleman was on the phone on a regular basis, and it was a lot of men like that. So those times were real. I felt like I was down. That's the way I could describe it. And I would go back, pray about it, or I would just keep busy into doing my studies, which kept me content and kept me uplifted. And and God, as I know him to be, would start showing me things, little things for me to start seeing where I'm like, yo, this is real. Or what I'm doing now, it's really working because I'm seeing that I'm getting a piece of mail from this person, or I'm doing this. Things are just happening now that wasn't happening, before I came in here. So I dealt with it like that. I called my mom, but I didn't tell her about what I was feeling. I just called her, called some of my friends because I had a few what I would call solid comrades that would they stuck through me through the whole way. And I would talk to them sometimes. I could let them know, like, yo, I don't like what's going on, bro. This is what's happening. Did you hear anything? Did you see anything? When you get some money, could you please go send that to my daughter? Could you go take her to the toy store? Could you do this? Like all the things that I wanted to do and that I was doing prior to that, I'm like, yo, I need y'all to do this. Forget about putting money on my books. Do this, do that, to a point that I was very bossy, and they was like, yo, man, yo, but I was letting it go. Like, you got to do this, you got to do that. And they were doing it for the most part, but even they were getting pushed back. So that felt even more of that depressed feeling on me. I hope I wasn't too long. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, it did.
I have a follow-up. John Dukes, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Telling your story is powerful. There's my man, Bruce Jackson. Shout out to Bruce Jackson. We got to connect you two, man. I mean, this is a beautiful story you tell. Bruce does some great work in the community here in San Diego. But I will say to you, or I'll ask you, we've been talking a lot about sort of the bubble of love. And it sounded like you were in a bubble when you were writing those letters. And so can you say more about those letters and how you try to do that and how that kept you in that bubble?
Oh man, that's a nice question, Jose. Yeah, I like that term, the bubble of love. And I needed that bubble. That bubble, that bubble's real. I love you too, brother. That bubble's real. Thank you. I think there was some part of me where, and I see it on hers all the time because we talk for hours now, and she's 26 now, and that's incredible to be young and she talks to me. So that bubble was just like everything that I wanted to be for her, and that I didn't have for myself as growing up as a child, and wanting and longing for my parents to be together, or having a father that was in my life and doing those things as a man should be, and as a parent, all the episodes that I saw different father figures on television or people in the community, it just like somehow that encapsulated, I guess, if you will, like it's somehow where I was wrapped into this ideal of love and ideal of being a parent, and then what her and I shared for the 5 years of her life. What we shared together was real. I had to, there was a point that I was over my mom's house one day, and I had her, and my mom told me, she said, you have a baby, you got to take care of her. And I was like, Mom, I'm tired. I was feeding her and I fell asleep. And she was like, we both fell asleep. She took a picture of us. I still have that picture to this day. And it was days like that I would wake up with her because her mother was in college. She was going to be a nurse. Her mother's a nurse now too. And she was going to college at the time. And I was like, the agreement we made, if you have this child, whatever it would be, boy or girl, I will be there for the child. And, we were going to, obviously I wanted to have happily ever after with her as well, but that didn't work out. And I'm grateful I got Vivette. I'm happily ever after with Vivette right now. So, but yeah, it was like to answer your question again. It's like that love that we shared for those moments, what felt like eternity, because her love, her smell from the day one when I kissed at the hospital, from when she was delivered and the doctor handed them to me like, oh, you can cut the umbilical cord. I didn't want to cut it. I tell her this story all the time. Every birthday I tell her her story of how the birthday happened. Like, that's our tradition. I tell her this every year, to the point one day, and I don't want to get back. I want to tell you this story. This one time I actually I slipped my mind. I want to say, because I know during the day I would have told her, but when I called her, she was like, Dad. I said, what? She said, tell me the story. I said, wow. She wanted to hear the story because normally I always tell her. She's like, oh, Dad, I heard the story. Dad, stop. But this time I slipped when I was locked up, and she told me, she said, Dad, tell me the story. And I was like, the story? I said, oh, man, I was going to tell you the story. You know that. And I told her. So all of those moments that we had, pushing her in the stroller, doing from like I said, to learning her hair, because that was a hard thing to do. I knew everything what to do for her. Fed her. I mean, I remember one time I had made some waffles for her, and she's like, oh, Dad, these are the best waffles ever. You gotta tell mommy your recipe. I said, look, don't say that. I said, her mother heard it. Was like, all right, but now what he's feeding you, you know. But I would feed her, I would clothe her, I would shop with her. I did all those things that sometimes people look at as women do, as women's work, but it's really a parent's work. And it's never to slight a woman, because we need them just like they need us. And I think that's what's needed to be said in a lot of forums or a lot of places where people talk about parenting, because a lot of people like to say, oh, I'm a super parent, I'm this and that. But no, it's two people, and you need both of them. You need that balance with them. And that's what I think really kept me to her, all those moments, and it kept me understanding that she needs both her parents. She's not going to survive. She won't be a nurse. She won't be whatever she wanted to be, because at that time she wanted to be she went from singing to rapping, coming up to rapping to me. I sent her to the studio. She went from dancing, ballerina. She did all kinds of things, track star, basketball, and I supported all of them till one day she said, Dad, how come, like, I'm going to be a nurse now, but I want to know why you and mom didn't put me into gymnastics, because I could have been a Gabby or whatever. I said, Alexis, please, if you wanted to do gymnastics, we would have put you in there. We did everything, and I ran off her list, and then she had to chuckle after that, because she was like, oh, I did do all that. I was like, yeah, you did everything that you wanted to do, and we supported you through all of that. So it's great to be able to say that no matter what time or moment you spent with your child, if and when you really genuinely spent that time, it can literally sustain you for whatever you're going through with them, and the length of time that you would have to be apart from them. It will hurt, but that love will be there.
That's beautiful, man. That's great. Michael, anything you want to add, man?
Well, yeah. I mean, Brother John, it's just great to hear your story and your passion behind everything relative to the relationship with children, how you persevered with them. I wanted to share two quotes that my dad shared with me growing up. And these quotes are around redirection, right? Because sometimes as a parent, we definitely have to redirect our kids. So I'm going to pose this question. I'm going to say these two quotes, and I'm going to pose a question to you, John. So the first quote is, do as I say, not as I do. And the second quote is, a smart person learns from his mistakes. A wise person learns from the mistakes of others, right? So with that, brother, I want to just ask you, when it came to still being that dad, for those years, and hearing stories and still having to play that role of father, how did you navigate those two quotes? And then, just can you talk a little bit about that role? And then, continuing now into, being out and being that father that's actively and present and all that too.
Oh man, Michael, that's a strong look. You actually use a quote that I use often with the, being smart and then but being wise. That part, I love that quote. Your father sounds like a great man, that's good that you have that bond with him. So I would say that what I started doing was becoming the things that I would tell her anyway, because there was a part of me already when she was born, when she would say things, whether it be like a slip of a curse or anything, if she goes, "Oh, you're not supposed to say that," I'll say, "Yo," I say, "Yes, you're right," and I would have to tell that to her. Sometimes if there was somebody around saying certain things, and like whether it was her mother slipping out of road rage, like just this so and so, move, and I would say, "No, she's right. We're not supposed to speak like that." Or she'll go, "Oh, y'all listen to your music, Dad. Could I put my Barbie tape in or whatever?" I'm like, "Yeah, she's right. We do listen to our music. Go ahead, put a tape in." So I did. I started doing that from the time she was born with my life, trying to live like what I would tell her to do or what I would want her to do. Even up until, like I said, coming inside. I actually went to while her mother was finishing college, I was signing up for FIT at the time. I did some training and got some credits in BOCES. It's like a BOCES trade school out in New York, where they have these things where you can take up welding, you can take up all types of things. I took up fashion design at the time because it was girls in there. That's the real reason why I took it up. And then Carl Kanai came out, Cross Color came out, and my instructor there, she was like, "Listen, you could be Calvin Klein, you could be Polo, they're all here." And I was like, but I was pretty good at it, sewing and everything. So with nothing to fall back on, because I was doing all of these odd jobs and hustling and doing everything around here that I should not have been doing, I wound up signing up for FIT, went to the orientation, and that's just to give you an understanding on trying to tell her about school and things like that, and being that example for her. I wanted to be that example for her. I was like, you know what? I have to go to school because I'm pushing school in her. I'm always talking about things with her. I'm always showing her mother, like, look, mommy's going to school. Look, this, mommy's doing that. And I'm like, where's my contribution to this? Until to the point that she was looking for contribution in ways that only a child could do, what she sees. And she would say, like when her mother would come home, "Oh, dad does everything. Mom, you don't do anything. Dad cleans up. Dad does that." And she would want to help me around the house. I'm like, "Nah, that's not true. Mom and dad, we both helping each other. But yes, I'm doing this, but mom's going to school and things like that." So I guess that's what I was doing prior. And then also I continued it when I came incarcerated. The barriers though incarceration set before me was that it wasn't easy to educate yourself in prison for me. The Malcolm days and other things that you read about, and you're like, "Oh, these guys, they get it." There's some guys in there and men in there that do get real sharp, but that wasn't my experience in my journey. I did read, I did challenge myself in certain things, but I also was connected to a lot of people, and I'm the type of person, Michael, that I connect with people where if you are speaking to me, you have my attention. So I'm getting pulled by so many people that are seeking attention in there, because there's so many lonely souls that are incarcerated. To be honest, a lot of brothers that are in there, and I'm sure sisters too. I'm not just like dismissing the sisters. I just haven't been fortunate to be with women in prison. Like if we were going to do the coexistence thing, I haven't had that experience. But yeah, but on a serious note, like there were times that I couldn't even have time for myself, that on things that I really wanted to do. So I was grateful to get involved with the Bible study thing, and that wound up helping me, where it helped my daughter with what she believes in now, and how she even one day she didn't want to believe that way no more. Like, "Oh, Dad, I'm in college. I don't believe the way you believe no more." And I prayed about it, and she came back to, "No, you know what, Dad, I believe that this is the way God is speaking to me." So that's what I've been doing now. Now I'm trying to get to the part of present now. In present time, what I did was and I went to college, and while I was in prison, I did sign up for that, and it was hard for me. I'm still finishing up now, thank God. and hopefully I'll get my degree. It'll be an associate's degree for now, but it's something, and I'm proud of that. I want to put a plaque up here on this wall because all of these things, I only got one plaque right now. All of this is Vivette. So, she has a lot of plaques, you know. So I want to be able to put a plaque up there with mine, and we're anticipating that shortly. So what I do now is I contact her every day, even with the COVID now, with COVID-19 being present. We stay on the phone, we talk, we text, we FaceTime. You know, if she needs anything, she knows that I'll come because I have a big mask, like the one, like I don't just have I have the goggle mask, everything. I have so much stuff. Vivette, only thing Vivette didn't order yet is the oxygen tank, and she's about to order that. So we have so many things over here. So I went out to see her and gave her some things like vitamins and stuff like that, but I haven't been able to like hug her because on a bittersweet note, she caught COVID-19, as I was telling Tim, I believe yesterday when we spoke. She caught that, and that was a hard time for me. You know, I broke down as any parent would do, and being that she's a nurse and she's working on COVID floor, and she's just started being a nurse. Like she's only been a nurse for about a year or so now. So, they pretty much placed the new ones like, yo, this is what you gotta do. This is what you want to do. And now everybody's needed. First responders, they're calling people out of retirement. You know that story. So she caught that, and that broke me down. I cried and I cried and I cried and prayed and prayed, and she came over that now. Yeah. So she's fine, and now she's, like I said, buying a home now, and she's working still now. And I told her just be careful. So we stay in contact. We've been out on breakfasts before, to breakfast before this happened. We've done things. I've done things now. Oh, this is something I think is worthwhile saying, because in coming home, I had my own agenda. And my agenda was, look, I want to be with my daughter and I want to do these things, but this is what I want to do with her. But I had to put brakes on that and say, wait a minute, what does she want to do with me?
Still the dad. Yep.
Yeah. And one of those things that transpired with this was that when I first came home from doing all that time, I was like, look, I want to go home, eat a cooked meal at home, and first I'm going to stop at the church and get prayed over. Yep. Because I know a lot of people, like I was telling Tim, I'm not patting myself on the back, but I could be a big deal too, like in the prison, like especially in the prison, like I got a name, like people like, yo, that's Brother John, like, yo, that dude right there, like I have a strong name with officers and prisoners, yep. Like my name is good, so it's like to come home, I was like, I don't want to be pulled in all these directions, because so many people were like, yo, when you come home, we gonna do this, we going to party, yep. We going to that. I was like, I know that, so what I'll do is I'm not going to tell people when I come home. So John, I did. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I didn't, and then fast forward, I wind up how would I say it? I wind up going to the church as I planned, but my daughter, she was like, I want to take you to dinner. And I had to concede because I really wanted to go home, but out here in the world, in society, that's a big deal. Yep. We want to celebrate you. We want to take you to eat. And I was like, you don't understand. I just did all this time. I don't want to eat out. I've been eating out for years. I want to eat home cooked meal. Like I want to eat, I want to go home, sleep in my bed. I don't want to go to a hotel. I don't want to go to no fancy things what you consider to be living outside. I want to enjoy what you don't appreciate probably no more, to be in a home. And but I did what she said, and we had a great time. I'm sorry to be so long.
Dude, please, man, you're incredible. You're great. I'm sorry, I got two little animals here trying to play online games here, so I'm trying to wave them away. So, yeah,
and I hope that answers the question, Mike.
No, you hit it well. I mean, you modeled the expectation, and to me, that's a huge piece of what we do. But at the same time, there's a bit of where we learn from our children too, right? And they allow us to grow. My dad said, once I reached the age of accountability, then began to share his ways of the world with me. And he's often told me, like, I learned from you more than you ever know. And I didn't get it. I really didn't get it until Grayson and Addison, my 3 and 2-year-old, were born, and I watched them and I grow and I learn from them. Like I shared in previous episodes, like I watch them play with kids regardless of race or disability, and they play and they don't have that judgment. So I'm learning from them. So like I think that's a powerful relationship that you just described, John. So I appreciate it, bro.
John, you were really great today. Listen, I'm so glad you finally came on. I appreciate you staying on a little bit later. I'm glad I finally got to hear your story. Vámonos. You will play nothing. So I, we end all shows with a little bit of homework right now, okay? For our guys. And I know we told a story. You told me something last night. You talked about videotaping the memories, going to the zoo, so that your kids would have memories later on, and you could say, I did this with my kid. I took my kid to the zoo. I took him to the Empire State Building. I did those things. So what I'm going to assign, and some of those things can be exciting things like that. Some of them can be just what might be conceived like mundane things that people always remember. Hold on, I'll be 1 second.
Yes, daddy in action.
Right?
I love it.
No. Say goodbye, guys. Bye. So it could be the.
Oh, now you muted yourself.
Sorry, guys. It could be the boring things. It could be the exciting things. I'm going to challenge all the dads here in the next week, and that's going with you too, John, to pull out one thing out of your routine over the next week that you want to remember years from now. Maybe you're gonna, I guess we're kind of stuck as far as we can't really bring our kids to the Empire State Building this weekend. But what's one memory you want to pull out of your week that you want to share with your kids 20 years from now? Okay. Mine might be telling my kids to leave the room right now while I'm trying to wrap up this show. Okay. But guys, thank you so much. John, thank you so much for your time, man.
Thank you.
John Montolino.
It was an honor to meet you, man. Like, you're such an inspiration, father and man. Yeah, appreciate you.
Brothers. Thank you.
It was awesome, guys. And Michael, Dr. Love Bubble there, Jose, thanks again. And everyone out there in NPU land, please join us again next week for another edition of Dad to Dad. I'm going to go give my kids away. See you later, everyone.
Take it.